Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week. And we are super excited. We have Nicola Amadora on with us today. And she's been on some previous episodes with us. So if you haven't had a chance, you can go back and catch those. Nicola teaches a refreshingly real and embodied way of spirituality. She is a spiritual teacher, psychologist, woman leader, author, and speaker. For 3 decades, she has been guiding thousands of people worldwide in retreats, sessions, events, and trainings. Nicola is the author of Nothing But Love and Love Unleashed: How to Rise in a World on the Edge. She is passionate about the great turning in people's lives and our world. So we welcome back Nicola. It's so exciting to be on with you again.
Likewise, very happy to see you again and inviting me. Thank you.
Yes, you're very
And I'm
welcome.
also happy to say hello to everybody who is watching right now.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so we talked a little bit before we kind of popped on, and we were going to start talking about the feminine power and Mary Magdalene. So I think this is such a great thing. And Mom and I both noticed that that's really something that's really coming up a lot lately,
Yeah.
in the world. So we're excited to dive into that with you. So we'll let you take it away.
That's wonderful. Well, I have been teaching also the Magdalena way for decades and have led lots of retreats and still do at her cave in France where she lived. And so I know so much about Mary Magdalena that I could, as I said, I could talk for the next 5 hours and we wouldn't be finished. I want to combine it also with the feminine power, the true power that, because Magdalena embodied that more than any other female saint. And there is a reason why she's rising right now on the world stage when everything is so rocky. People are searching to, and especially women searching for true role models, living beings, saints who are not just whitewashed or live in caves, but also a saint like her, a holy woman who walked the streets in the world, who brought a revolution that's now unleashing the most.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just
Yeah.
to introduce Our Lady a little bit, because that can give a backdrop for, and may lead you all who are watching this, you might get curious about her and how this, what I teach is the revolutionary way of her, can help you in your life.
Right.
Because as women, I have noticed we have very little that is, a spiritual path that's applicable for today and specific for women. Is the masculine way is very much the transcendence, but the feminine way is immanence, to experience the aliveness, the sacredness, and treat each other that way. There's a beautiful quote I like to read you. Um, she embodied a great love, a love that renders all things sacred, from the animals to the angels, from the poorest to the most powerful. It's a love that sees the inherent worth of all beings and treats each one like that.
Beautiful.
If we recognize, how often as women feel that, with women, I work with women for so long and I see, that most women feel I have no worth, or I have to prove my worth, or I'm second class citizen, or my voice, it doesn't matter what I say. It got the powerful, seeming powerful, the patriarchy has almost successfully oppressed and suppressed us. But the fire is rising, and so is she, with a tremendous power, a true power, not the false power, that is connected to all of life. So if we look at Mary Magdalene's life, I would say there's clear evidence how she, for example, through her power, she was a revolutionary, she was a high priestess, she was a mother, she was a wife, she was a human being just like you and I. She was a woman, a teacher, a leader, and a healer. That's a lot, right? Right there. You got to have a lot of power.
Yes.
And when I speak about power, I do not mean the false power that's being displayed, that we see so much being displayed in the world. But I mean a power that moves the oceans, that is in the wind, that is in your aliveness, that feels eternal and yet utterly intimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was known to embody exactly that. Power that is love, not the kind of fluffy love, but that is gutsy, that's real. That's why she's called gentle as a dove and fierce as a lioness. And don't we need the fierce as a lioness right now?
Oh, we really do. We really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure do. Yeah.
And I think too, when you look back on it, like she was not seen at that time by the people around her. She was being suppressed so much by all the people that were involved, other than, you know, but she kept on doing what she needed to do. And, you know, years later, we look back and reflect on that and see how strong of a person and how much influence she really did have over those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. She wasn't acknowledged in her time at all. And for 2000 years, she was depicted as the pertinent sinner who was saved by Jesus. Convenient story.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and she was also named a whore, among many other things. And that's, we can see how she threatened patriarchy. Now, patriarchy was already in place in her time, well and solid. So what did she do? She did the things that as a woman you must never do in her time, especially. She left her family. She did not take the classical role, her Jewish tradition, but also the patriarchy told her to cook and sew the socks. There's nothing wrong with it for her, that just wasn't her way.
Right.
She became a high priestess in an ISIS school, but she also, the beauty is she didn't just disappear into some temple, which women at that time, that was the only alternative. Marry or go into a temple school, or, you know, stay a spinster and serve your family. There were three options at that time. Well, she did go to the temple, but then she did not stay in the temple. It made her very unique. She went into the streets, and yes, she met Joshua. They got married. And that is something too that the church tries to, since 2000 years, suppress for good reason. Won't go into that. You can just imagine the threat that she posed as an equal teacher, an equal leader. But then, so she already, and as that, she showed up in the streets. The apostles were pissed with her. The people, some of them were like, especially the women flocked to her. But some people threw rocks at her. How dare she speak up? How dare she teach? How dare, right? So she kept daring. She had an enormous bravery. That's why she was called the Tower of Magdala, the Tower of Strength. She just did her thing, and when when Joshua died on that cross, she was an outcast. So she didn't hide in a corner and cry for years. She left the country to a complete unknown area, land, France. What did she do there? She also didn't hide somewhere. She revolutionized the whole of southern France. And it took what she brought, her teachings, took off like a wildfire. So what she combined was her message, of course, was about to embody a great love that renders all things sacred. And her message was also that the feminine power liberates, heals, resurrects, awakens, and unites what is separate. So she had a combo that was so rare. She was both a mystic and a sacred activist. She was a contemplative, went into the cave, but at the same time, she was wandering around in the streets. At that time, the Romans already in Jerusalem, in Israel, they killed truth bearers. She did it anyway.
Yeah.
The gutsiness that takes. And she didn't fight the system. She didn't succumb to the system. That's an important piece for women, I think.
Yes.
She didn't either, but she stood solid in the truth and lived that. She walked her talk.
Yeah.
That makes it also unique.
Yeah.
We have a lot of talk these days and very little walk. That's what I call, yeah, go ahead.
That's true. And I find myself saying that so much to people is walk your truth. If you're saying it, do it. Don't live in that wishy-washy thing that so many people live in. Start walking what you're saying. Start doing what you're saying as well. It's too easy to ride in the middle and not make the difference, right?
Yes,
It
yes, but
is.
that's where the rubber meets the road. The
Yeah.
embodiment of the talk is far harder, far, far harder to walk it. Like, how do you relate in your relationships?
Yeah.
How do you speak? How do you bring benefit to the world and not only to yourself, but others too? Do you stand up when you see children being abused? Do you just join the sheep and be silent because you're too afraid to be rejected?
Exactly.
She was rejected over and over again. Even the apostles were, did not like her, did not like that she was such an empowered woman, but also Jeshua sometimes spoke up for her. But still, she had to go through that gateway of rejection, the pain of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, she did not practice a spirituality that's a bypass. So when she stood at the cross and her beloved was hanged, of course, her heart was shattered in grief. And at the same time, what she did, what I find so impressive, she did not stop there. She allowed the grief to open her heart all the way. That's where she found that great love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really significant for us as humans to know, right? Is that when we're going through that grief and letting, instead of allowing it to shut us down, to open our hearts more, to be able
Yeah.
to be accepting, be vulnerable, be all those things
Yeah.
that she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, she unites something very unique that you all is very also very rare to find: utter human vulnerability with the divinity of great power and love.
Mhm.
It's so rare to find human. That's what the teaching also was: be fully human and fully divine.
Yes.
And because the, your vulnerability is the gateway into your divinity.
I believe that too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and in my work for so long, I've been teaching that way. And I realized, man, that this is the way we need as women, because it gets you to connect to the true life power, the holy power. And at the same time, she shows a way where all the garbage gets stripped off, and it's not pleasant. It's that underground journey every woman has to go through. You can't get the power by just raising your hands to the sun. That's wonderful, but the sun is going to set at night. The true power you harness when you go really into the underground and everything gets stripped, like the journey of Persephone. And then at the bottom of the bottom, there is the life power that will fill, that does fill. And then she rose through that. That's why she had that. She didn't need to assert her power. She didn't need to walk around and say, look at me, how great I am. She stood in that stillness and then took action or spoke her voice.
Mhm.
And
Why do
that
you, oh,
takes,
sorry.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to ask you, why do you think that, because she has these amazing teachings, why do you think for so long, because it just seems like it's come out lately, why do you think now is the time that her teachings that are so important are being brought to light?
Yes, I love that question because I think that's that's 20 years ago when I started teaching about her, because it, nobody knew about Mary Magdalena. Everybody was like, who is that? This way, this embodiment? No, that's no. Now, 3 years ago, I heard her say, you've seen my descent, now watch my rising. And then she exploded to the world stage.
Mhm.
And first now the world is ready for her. First now there are women who are clear that old patriarchal way that also is paved spirituality and religion ain't working for us. It doesn't work. And I think at this time, the world is going through so much turbulence that a lot of women are looking for some way and a role model of how do we navigate this insanity out there? How do we, you can't escape the turbulence anymore because we're all in one boat. This just is. And also I see in a spiritual scene where women are craving something that is real. Again, we're leading back to it's not just a talk, but in the way, in her revolutionary way, the spaces, you walk it, you practice. You don't just put some rose petals in your bathtub. That's nice, but that's not Magdalena.
It's not making those footsteps, is what you're saying, that make the difference, right? Right.
She walked it with her sandals and I bet many times barefoot. You know, how did she relate to people who said to her, fuck off.
Yep.
How did she stand when some of them were like, we don't want to hear you. We don't want to see you. How many times as women have we learned then to go silent?
Too
But she
often.
did. She didn't. So there's also that longing for liberation in women, true liberation. And that feminine power that she carried, it is timeless, because you see it reverberating 2026 years later, the truth is coming forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that can never be destroyed. That's the proof in the pudding in any case. And her message. It's just over the years, there's a lot of unfortunate misinterpretations and writings, and then some people channel her, and like, why don't you take just one line of her teaching and practice that, and then talk, or inform yourself really about the true story, because some of us had to dig really a lot to find the pieces of her true story. That wasn't easy because it's so hidden. But one of the things, there were people, I think that's what makes it also so inspiring, the Cathars who lived that way, that she and Joshua taught. And of course, same story, genocide. The Pope and the King got together and just said, kill them all in the name of Jesus. Because they preached and they walked the way of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she is a symbol for how you can, as a woman, rise in a time where where we're really at the edge on so many levels.
Yeah.
It sure is.
So, what do you think are her greatest teachings that we need to know as the world? Because I don't think it's just women that need to know this. I think this is a world teaching. So, what is it of like, what are her greatest lessons that in this time and this chaotic world that we're living in, do you think are the most important ones that we need?
Again, really good question. So one is that, and that applies to men and women, I would say, embodied spirituality. It's the union of human and divine, that your anger, your pain, your joy, your sorrow is valid, is important, because it makes you human. And you are divine. That what can never be taken, never be broken. That is always here, regardless if you're in a body or not. But that embrace that the soul needs to incarnate in this human form. That one is a very important and often neglected teaching that we need, because usually spirituality splits people in half.
Right.
This is your lower self, that's your higher self. What is that? Or it says, these are negative emotions, these are positive, cut out the negative. That's all BS. That doesn't work, because it makes you feel even more separate. And her path is of union.
Yeah.
So the other one is literally what we said, walk. If you hold a important value in your heart of, let's say, mercy or forgiveness, preach less, live it more.
Yes.
So that's another thing, because when we see through her message that lived spirituality has a huge impact throughout her whole life. And then 2026 years later, it was lived. It was the living truth. And that is a whole other teaching unto itself, how she describes, how, through the tree of life, through the practices, how you can realize the truth and live it. She underwent that herself. She didn't come here onto the earth as ready-made avatar. And that's the beauty of her too. She attained these things. She drank the blood, let's say that way, and turned it into living wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, true. So if somebody wanted to go further into her teachings, where's a good place for them to start with that, to learn more
Well,
about her and all these great things that she's done?
Well, what you could do is you can go to my website. There's a whole Mary Magdalena's Way page, and there's like little courses that are easy. You can just get and listen to the story, listen to some of the core teachings. And then if women feel compelled, they can also look into the retreat that's annually held there, where we steep in that every day. And in her forest, in the sanctuary, that I feel is so beautiful, how it's still so alive there, where she spent a lot of her years. You can feel the forest is almost like, it's like magic in there. And because everyone I've brought there, or people, they always say, wow, this forest is different than any other. It feels so alive and imbued by her grace. And so a lot of fascinating things start happening. And of course, we go and spend a lot of time in her cave. And there's a power that comes out that touches women, that just allows the heart to finally liberate itself. So I think her power is still at work there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can also, I wrote a chapter in one of the books, so you can, several chapters actually, and you can read that. Can have a free chapter also on my website for that. So there's a lot of material there.
Wonderful.
And yeah, and so much more about her path that
Good.
I feel can help us today to find strength and solace and, yeah, a love that literally renders everything sacred.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is amazing, and I think we truly need that. And I just like, for me, I always think like if you have the history behind it and her true story for people that don't know it, I think that can just open up so many questions in your mind, and then it just makes you dig deeper into some of her teachings that she has.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I think for me, I dug for a long, long time. And it was really good to go on that goose chase, because every piece I discovered, I was like, wow, I did not know, because when you have to work for something, it's almost like it pulls you so into the whole thing that the teaching is already coming through that search, what I encountered, and then I felt her even more present, and then I got the whole thing, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable in one respect, that they were able to suppress that feminine power, that amazing woman, for so long, and yet that didn't succeed.
Right. Yeah.
She burst through. She burst through the whole 9 yards.
So how do
So
you feel? having learned her teachings, how do you feel that has impacted your life in a different way than before you started learning what her teachings?
Oh. Well, I was a Buddhist teacher, you know, and yes, I taught women spirituality long time, like almost 40 years now. And when I came upon her, I mean, I was immersed in women's spirituality. I was also studying with female Tibetan Lama, all this. And I had a female teacher as well. And then at the time when I was called to step more forward as a spiritual teacher per se, I suddenly was pulled towards this cave. And I was called, and I thought, Mary Magdalena? I don't know who she's. But when this would take too long to share the whole story, but when I came upon her teachings and who she was, I realized, man, we really do have it the wrong. I had it the wrong way round. There was significant pieces missing, especially for being a woman on a spiritual path. So what I did then is I applied it. I lived it. I sweated through it. I went that way. And then she said, now you teach my revolutionary way to women all across the world. And suddenly they kept coming. I don't know from where, from all sorts of places. Because what they realized is it felt real. It felt so real and so alive and true.
Mhm.
And and it brought women into their power. It has done the same for me. It has changed me from the inside out, upside down and inside out, I like to call it.
You've probably had a lot of stoppages along the way too, where people try to change what you're trying to do. So you're constantly having to battle up and stay your true person through what people are trying to stop you from doing. Because I mean, the whole history of us women is people have always tried to pull us back from where we were trying to gain that strength to be those individuals strong and true. So you must have had your real pitfalls along the way.
Oh, you believe me.
Yeah,
Believe me. Also from women,
yeah,
interesting,
yeah,
because I realized, this life power, this feminine power is threatening to women too.
right.
And so, yes, I was severely tested I went through fire, believe me,
Yeah.
with her. And I was, yeah, there, especially also then people, take the teaching and then make it into something else, distort it, and sell it online, for a ton of money. And I'm like, uh-uh, that's not the way. So there were many pulls and temptations for sure, but there were also direct attacks. But then I was like, well, this is working for so many, and for me, I stand in that, I live that, I breathe that. It's working for the animals I meet, the people I meet or teach. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go and do exactly what she did too. Just keep going
That's all you can do is keep
and
that
light that
straight, right?
and light that fire. Yeah, and it
Yeah,
couldn't come from my own personality strength. It had to come from that deep power. So now I carry that. I feel that power, and I carry the torch. I'm like, you can't blow that one out.
Those Irish.
Well, I think when we shed all of that of who, I don't know, who we think we are, some of the masks that we carry on, and become ultimately vulnerable and allow this love and grace to come in from teachings like this, I really feel like it makes us show up different in the world and how we go about that.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it is, makes it entirely different.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not even that the grace comes, but that the grace opens what to the love that's there. And why would I want to betray that love? Makes me feel rotten, actually. And but that love is then not just a word; it's a living, breathing action and way of being.
Mhm. Mhm.
That it's, you can't harm another more vulnerable person when you stand it, but you just can't because you can feel this is you.
Yeah.
This is the true union path. Yeah, and I feel also what she taught me is to be able to be also not just gentle as a dove, but to be fierce as a lioness, to draw the line when a line is needed.
And that's not easy.
No, especially not to do it with an open heart.
That's right.
No, not to armor up, but to come from power and say, this shall not pass. Not here, not now, not with me. Or to be able to say a full yes even to something that I could take requires courage to do, you know. So, but she walked it. If she did, so can everyone else who's listening here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's teachings or some of her life or something from your that you can offer, what would it be to put in somebody's spiritual toolkit, so to speak, that they can take forward to help them live this more embodied life of love?
That's a good question. Of course, I have thousands of tools, but let me just see. A very simple way is is to just, I mean, this would be for men and women. It's so simple. It's just to touch your heart because it's with the body we can access the truth most. And to let your mind, just to lean back, your mind literally drop it backwards, lean the eyes backwards so it's not coming from here. And notice the breath in your belly, like the rising and fall. Notice the root. You're rooted on the earth and she holds you. And then breathe into your heart. It's like you're saying, hello, beloved, my heart. Hi, my friend. And ask your heart, what would love do? What does love want to do? What do you, my heart, want to do right now?
Right.
Not tomorrow. And to feel. And maybe your heart gives you an image or a word. Maybe it just makes you feel, my heart just wants to breathe right now. Oh, it wants more touch here from my hand. Yeah. So it's keep it simple, but ask the question more often. What does my heart want to do right now? What does it want to say?
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah.
Made me all teary. Like, but just because I think
Yeah,
love is such an emotion that it's so encompassing. And I loved what you said earlier, where you were saying, instead of looking at like negative emotions and positive emotions, just look at them as a whole,
Yeah.
as these are emotions. There is no good or bad, there just are, right? So I think that was a really important
Yeah.
message to people as well. So,
yeah, 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 because otherwise it becomes violence. We are given those colors to paint. If you see paintings, you want to be able to paint with all colors if you are alive.
yes,
And
absolutely.
and so when we just did this little practice, so simple, is to also come to the body and to the feeling, and let the mind just take a little bit of a break from overworking. Let the heart say, hey, my beloved, because in the Magdalena way, it's like the beloved, yeah? So you ask your heart like it's your beloved. What do you want to say? What do you want to do? Like you treat your heart like your best friend.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, the truth teachings are really simple, and that because we recognize something is true, and then we just have to practice it.
Yes. So
Because you don't have to practice it. You invite it. You have the pleasure to practice it.
exactly.
Right.
So if people want to find you to follow along with you with your teachings or your books or any of that, where can they find you?
You just go to nicolaamadora.com. And if you want to look for the feminine way, you just click on the Revolutionary Way of Mary Magdalene. It's on my homepage. You go there, and voila, you can choose the bounty and join the feast of love.
Right.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Right.
And then all your social media links are all on your website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is
And
there.
your books are on your website and Amazon and all the places that you can buy
Yep,
them.
Love Unleashed. Thanks for asking for that. Love Unleashed is about embodied spirituality, but it has also a beautiful chapter of Mary Magdalena in it, and a chapter on women rising. So I
Yeah.
feel we deserve all the places we can get as women these days.
Oh,
Yes. Yes, we do. Women need to keep rising up and rising up strong,
Yes.
and believing in the truth of how they feel about things, and don't back down anymore. Yeah, thank you for
No.
what you do.
Thank you for what
And,
you're doing, Daughters of
yeah,
the Moon.
thank you. And if you had a final thought that you wanted to leave with everybody today, what would it be?
I would say believe yourself and take root, make your stand, take root in that life power, that living truth. Trust that, because proof in the pudding is 2026 years later, even if they killed so many for it.
right.
It's rising like a torch in the night sky, and it's lighting the way for so many.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well,
Thank you.
thank you so much for being on the podcast with us again today and sharing
an
these
honor.
teachings and this wisdom. It's such an important thing what you're doing and what you're sharing with people. So we both really appreciate you being on with
You
us
bet.
today.
You bet.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for inviting me. I love you both.
Thank
We
you.
love you too. And
Bye.
everybody else, we will see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening in, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.